Okay, we are starting this feed. I want to introduce this podcast. Hi, my name is Michelle Adler, and I am introducing this podcast that I have been talking about on my YouTube channel that begins today. And I will be learning about editing and all of these other things. So I will beg your indulgence that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't necessarily know how it all works or what editing I need to do and how I need to do it. So I started a few minutes early before my guest arrives to get some promo stuff. So, welcome to Post Mom, a podcast for women, about women, for women. Developing identity. The title is Post Mom only because that was my journey. So it is very focused around my journey, discovering who I was post motherhood, but not because you're never not a mother, but you're often not a woman inside of that journey. So who are you after you became mom? And that's what the whole content of this podcast is about. Who are you after? To steal the quote from Nancy Bates, or excuse me, Kathy Bates in the Nicole Kidman movie, who were you before you were everything for everyone else? And it's a really interesting concept. And that's why I wanted to start this podcast because it hit a nerve for me. It was very poignant for me because it was a journey. It was a journey to discover who I was again, what I wanted in this life. And I thought maybe some of the things that I learned, some of the trials, some of the challenges, and the way I overcame them can help other people. And so that is where all of this started. Please excuse me, these seasonal things keep coming up for me. So hopefully I'll be able to edit that out and you won't see anything, but it doesn't matter. So here we go. I am going to let our guest here in just a second, and we're going to see how all of this shakes out. I'm very excited. Are you excited? This is going to be a fun journey. Okay, so we are going to get started on the first podcast, and I'm very happy to welcome my very first guest, Heather Matthews. We are work colleagues, and she has a very interesting insight into our topic of post mom and the development of the post mom identity. We're going to flesh out all of that and what that means and everything. But welcome, Heather. Thank you so much. My first question to you is, why did you say yes?
Because I just hear you speak at work and you're so well spoken and you have such this amazing energy into like momhood and being a working mom and all of those things. So I'm here for whatever you're putting down.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate the vote of confidence. And I'm really, thank you for speaking to it because there are so many layers to identity and women's identity. And then being a working mom, being a woman, all of these things are really complex. So can you talk to me about, because your children are older now, your children are not babies. So how I have all of these questions and I'm so excited. And you know me, I get very distracted. So I want to stay on task. Talk to me about how old you were when your first child was born.
Um, well, it was 16 years ago this month. So I was 28, like 27 in the pregnancy, 28 just when he was born. So it's been a little bit.
But how when all of that was happening, so at 27, 28, you is it fair to say like you had established your identity as you understood it as a woman, as a partnered person, and those things? How did that change and evolve after the birth of your son?
So the agreement between me and my husband was always like, you're gonna stay home with the kids. And that was my passion. I just went to college because it felt like saying I want to be a mom was a weird profession. So I was like, okay, I'll be a teacher. So that was what I did, and I taught until we had Chase, and so then I was going to stay at home, and it was great. I loved staying at home with Chase. He was like the perfect baby. Like he didn't cry. I was like, I could do this like 15 times. Like this is amazing. Um, so that was what I did. I stayed at home with Chase, and for a brief period my husband lost his job, and so like I took on like some other things, and then I went back to staying at home. And
How soon after that
then
was
when he
Ryan born? I don't know the space
um
between them.
Ryan Chase was just about to turn 3 when Ryan was born. Um so I stayed home again, I continued to stay home. Ryan was the complete opposite. He was extremely difficult. He had acid reflux, he cried, he threw up a lot. Um, but then I also went through like all the changes that people tell you about that I didn't experience with Chase. I had postpartum depression. I developed like anxiety. I couldn't put him in a crib. Like, that's crazy. He's so far away. Even though I did all of these things with my first baby, I did not feel like I could do them with my second baby. Um, so that was a whole new experience. And I was like, wow, I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom anymore. Like, this is kind of awful.
Oh, wow. So you had a big
Yeah.
cognitive shift inside of that.
Yes. Yes. So then I started looking for like part-time work. And I was like, what is this new identity? But then also Chase was in preschool. Like, we're going into threes and fours, and we did like, just little like church-based, like 2 hours a day type things. So then it was like, okay, well, now I have to have this whole like schedule, who's driving who where, and who's picking who up, and then who's watching 2 kids. And, so then it was just like this whole like change that I was not prepared for, because all my life I was staying home with my babies and I was going to do all of this myself,
Wow. So
but I
can
didn't like
and
it
now, well, but I wanted to, and if this is safe,
anymore.
how were the feelings of lack of success or lack of fulfillment? Because I don't want to use the big F, this
Yeah.
terrifying failure word, but like we as moms and society reinforces the idea that we are failing at every turn. How how heavy was that? How impactful was that sensation?
I actually never felt like failure or that it wasn't working out, because I had the most supportive husband and sisters and mom ever. So my mom's like, oh, perfect. She's like, I could watch the boys Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They could sleep over, and then you don't even have to worry about like back and forth and like all the things. So I was like, okay. I
You had a
mean,
great
who's not
support
going to
system.
give up like every Wednesday date nights when you have 2 toddlers? So like we jumped on that bandwagon. So I never felt like it didn't work out. I felt like I shifted my thought process and my feelings, and my family was like, okay, let's do it.
Wow. So Tom and your mom and the sisters were the support to be able to hold you up while you were evolving.
Absolutely. And like, while the whole like postpartum depression, anxiety was like a diagnosis from the doctor, at that point in my like motherhood journey, my OB was also an amazing supportive person, and she was like, let's try these meds. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And it worked, and I was fine for a short term.
Well, but to recognize, because as you work in the perinatal field and you see and hear all of these horror stories of women who don't have that support.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do know I was extremely fortunate in that aspect. And I don't know, a lot about my personal life and everything that I've been through, and I don't know how far into this you want to dive into that whole aspect,
However
but
you want to
that
go.
was 100% the turning point in my life. Um, so then it was like, okay, Ryan is 1.5, not quite 2 yet. Um, Chase is 4. And we found out we were expecting a third time, which was never off the table for us. Uh, it was, do we do this? Do we not do this? Whatever. Both times with my other boys, we were like, okay, let's get pregnant. And it was like, boom, positive pregnancy test. Okay, great. Let's move forward with it. So when we kind of like, I was on birth control. Like, this wasn't something we were like actively talking about, but we never put it off the table. Found out we were expecting. Great, here we go. Let's do it. Everyone's excited. Previous experience, you get a positive pregnancy test, you bring home a baby in 9 months, life keeps moving forward. This was not our experience. We found out we were expecting end of September, and it was just a rocky road pretty much the whole time until mid-January of the following year when I delivered early. That was Bryce. He passed away after several hours just because he was so premature and all of those things. Um, but that small little postpartum depression anxiety that I had in like 2011, 2012 with Ryan, I'm it is nothing. It turned into something I could never wish on my worst enemy. With the death of a baby, a son, a brother, a child, the grandchild, nephew, I carried all of that. So that's where like the transition of motherhood really 100% changed for me.
When you look at that evolution that you have gone through, obviously it is not, it is never 100% like in the past. Yeah, that happened. That is always something that is in the present with you. But when you look at where you are now from that journey, what takeaways do you like today, right now, February 2nd, as you look at that journey? And I want, if you are comfortable, I would love to talk about the journey post Bryce and how you as a mother of 3 boys, but not all of that motherhood experience is the same, how you landed, because it is fair to say, from an external perspective, you're well. You are able to engage in society. I can have conversations with you, and you carry all of those different motherhood experiences with you, but you carry it very well. What kind of work went into that process? Because it was horrible. I mean, it's the worst possible thing that anyone can encounter.
Yeah.
But yet you're here, you're
I did my
smiling.
yeah, I did my own therapy for a long while. I did couples counseling for a while with Tom because I envy the people who say like that their marriage was not affected by the loss of a baby, but I feel like they are lying if they say that. Um, I have what I consider a phenomenal and like strong, well foundation, like all of these things, and we struggled. Um, Even though we said in the beginning like that's not going to happen, like it ultimately happened. It took like a year and a half, but it ultimately happened. Um, So we did all the things that we thought we should do. I did, my own counseling. We did couples counseling. We talked to our families. We talked to everyone because the more I kept it inside, the crazier I got. So which was ultimately what led to me being so vocal about everything because I was, I can't be the only person that struggled after losing whatever you want to call it, losing a pregnancy, losing a baby, losing an infant, losing a son, whatever you want to call it. Like I can't be the only person that struggled after that. So we did everything we could think of to get me well.
So you just did something really interesting in that you quantified the experience like a bunch of different ways as a pregnancy, an infant, a son, all of those things. In your experience, when you interact with other people and they find out that this was a part of your life, do you carry the weight of their feelings about it? And how do you process that? Because this was your experience. This was your child. This was your son. This was your pregnancy. And then when other people put it in whatever frame they want to look at it through, what is that for you? How does that affect you?
I used to care about it. Now I don't. Now I'm like, whatever. You feel how you need to feel about it. I'm fine with it.
But was it always that easy?
No,
Okay.
no. I couldn't for a while. I couldn't even talk to Tom about it because I would feel like I'm so sorry if I just ruined your day by mentioning Bryce's name. But now I'm like, whatever. It ruins my day if I don't get to. So sorry.
But the beauty inside your ownership of that, I think, is very, very lost in our culture because, American culture does it, oh no, someone could get upset. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about something that might upset someone. And
Yep.
your ownership, your ability to just, yeah, this is freaking terrible. Let me tell you about it, has really created a much needed safe space. And for anybody who's watching right now, Heather is an Angel Mama mentor through Everlasting Wellness, is it okay? Can you speak? Do you feel comfortable speaking about that?
Of course.
Okay.
So basically the thought of an Angel Mama mentor with our practice is I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to give you all these great suggestions that Michelle is able to give you, but I can sit there with you and I can hear what you have to say and I can empathize like because I lived it. And I can tell you that it sucks and it's awful, but you'll be okay. 11 years later, you might be able to talk about it without crying. So yeah, I'm just willing to meet you where you're at. If you just want to sit there in silence, but sit there in silence with someone who can say, like, yeah, I might have walked in your shoes. I might have been through the same things. I might have heard those same awful comments, from someone I thought was a family member, those type of things. So it's just a way for us to bond, if you will, with the similar awful circumstances.
Well, obviously, with protecting the identities and everything, can you talk about the reactions that people have to that experience? Like,
Um,
do women invite that? Have women expressed to you the joy of that connection? Well, maybe not
yes.
joy is the right word, but
Yeah. No, it is the right word. Because those women have reached out and been like, you are the only person who has sent me a card with my baby's name. Or, not just, I'm so sorry for your loss, but acknowledging that this was my son, this was my daughter, this was my child. So those women are beyond thankful for the connection that I'm willing to make that other people aren't willing to acknowledge, if you will, because you're right. We don't talk about that. It's going to make her upset. So I'm just going to say, I'm so sorry for your loss. Like, it's not a grandparent. Like, this is her baby.
well, and the idea that you are sitting in the suck with these people who have experienced something, whether it was 5 minutes ago or 5 years ago, is still in the front of their brain.
Yeah.
And you are able to empathize and sympathize with them and just not try to make it better because nothing's going to make it better.
Exactly.
It is an amazing, amazing role that you fill. And as a lost mom and a mom, you have navigated, you have a foot in both of those camps very, very securely. And it is, I, from an external perspective, I will identify I am very envious of your ability to do that because it is so valuable and so necessary inside this. But now I'm deviating and I'm all like, yay, Heather. So I want I want to circle back that now because
Yeah.
your guys are bigger. You guys
Yep.
are dudes now. They're doing the not young man quite. Like they're not out of the house. They're not emerging adults, but they're
Yeah.
almost there. As
Hmm.
you look at that freedom that you have now, I mean, I know you have these supportive parents and an amazing partner. What does it shape for you now? Like Chase is a dude. I am sure he gets mistaken for a man. Has a waitress offered him a beer yet?
Not yet, but I see them like interacting with him, and I'm like, no, girl. Yeah.
Is that like when you try to navigate like your thoughts and feelings when that's happening, how do you how do you identify your role shifting? Because like you're the mama bear, you protect, you are doing all the things, but it's different now.
Yes. Everything has completely changed from let me take care of you to okay, let's talk about how this is going to change in a few years and you know, do your own laundry. Put that away. I don't just like hop in and like, here, I'll do it for you. Like it is all of let me teach you how to be a responsible, respectable member of society. So let's start talking about driving. You know, you want to play baseball? Great. What's the schedule? How does that affect, all these things? So we definitely put it off on our kids now, and it is a wild shift from, yeah, okay, we went from toddlers and, all of that to how do we schedule our whole day in, who needs to be where, what time, who's going to pick up this person. Tom, do you need to leave work early because I can't be in three places at once? All of those things to now it's Chase, can you just find a ride home after practice because some of your friends drive? So we've navigated all these different things and it's um crazy that we can just be like, do you want to go out to dinner tonight? And we don't have to find a sitter. We don't have to worry about anything. So yeah, I feel like I went on a small tangent and I don't even remember what the question was.
No, no, you got there, but that's where I was going is the idea that you and your husband are now kind of shifting back to you never go back to the pre-kids time because obviously they live in your brain all the time. But
Yeah.
if you and Tom want to go for a beer for happy hour on a Tuesday,
Yep.
that's available to you. And
Yes.
what does that look like now as your post mom identity? Like your post mom fun with your husband, with your partner. What do you guys do now that that freedom is more on the table?
Now that it's there, honestly, we get stuck in like, let's redo the bathroom because I'm ridiculous like that. But yeah, it's also we don't have to plan a date night. I can be like, you know what? Today really sucked. I want to go out to dinner and we just go. Um, it's nice on a Saturday morning. I can roll over and be like, do you want to get breakfast? And we can just get up and go. We've actually we tried to do that once and sneak out for breakfast, but everyone else in the house was also up and they were like, we want to go. So at the diner, I made them get their own table so that we could still have date breakfast, but they could still enjoy breakfast that I didn't have to cook.
But that's
So
beautiful.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And did you get feedback from either Chase or Ryan? Like, how did they and did they enjoy it or at least tolerate it?
They did actually. So they sat at, it's a diner, so they have like the bar where you can sit like on the little stool. That's what they did, and they thought that was great because normally I would be like, no, I'm not sitting there. I need something with a supportive back. And so they were like, this is great. We get to sit at the bar. So that's what they did. Yeah.
So it was an adventure for them and a date for you and
Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah, exactly.
So as you are like centering yourself more, and that I hesitate to use that language because it makes it sound like, oh, well, ditch these kids, because that's not what you're doing. But you are letting yourself lead. Like, what do I want? What does Heather want in this situation?
Hmm. Yeah,
Does that feel authentic? Like, can you do that guilt free?
100%. 100%. Girls' weekends at my girlfriend's beach house, girls' weekends where we rent a place, those things happen here. I flew to Florida with two of my girlfriends.
What was that?
I was phenomenal. It was like an amazing, I think it was like 5 days or something silly. Um, so it was like, I don't have guilt over those things. So I don't go me first. Like we try to go like marriage first, but me is pretty close to marriage. Like, I like to keep them like because if I'm not well, this whole house is not well. So
Well, and to speak fairly, Tom is an amazing partner that as much as you hold up your marriage, he is holding you up too. Like you're both
absolutely.
working to each
Absolutely.
other.
Absolutely.
With inside of that, like talk to me about what you think it would be like if you didn't, if Tom was not the man he is. I remember very vividly, and it was so poignant to me at the Adeline Rose Gala last year. For those of you that are watching, Adeline Rose is an amazing, are they an organization and whatever? They're a great group of people that,
Foundation.
I'm sorry.
Foundation.
Foundation, that's the word. The Adeline Rose Foundation is a support system for lost families, not just moms, but obviously moms, but the entire family that has experienced the loss. And they have a big gala. And Heather and Tom and I were all there last year. And during a especially challenging part of the keynote address, Heather had some emotionality, and I was sitting adjacent to them, and I saw Tom, like Tom didn't make it a big deal. He didn't, draw attention, but he was holding your hand and he just reached out and he was right that like he was in that moment with you in such a beautiful way. And like, ooh, it's even getting me right now because to see your support, to see that partnership and that just unwavering with that, do you credit that as the foundation in a lot of ways? Like, talk to me about how valuable that is.
Um, yeah, that's 100%. Like within my group of moms, like there's definitely ones who are like, yeah, I can't do that. I could never go to Florida for 5 days, or I could never go away for a girls' weekend, or, you just hear it within the community, like, must be nice. Um, Take away the financial aspects of it because while I'm saying like I flew to Florida for 5 days with my girlfriends, you know, you got to look on Southwest and you can get it for $198 round trip, like so and we stayed at someone else's house, like her mom's. It wasn't like I spent 3 grand on this. So take away the financial aspects of it. And is your husband going to support the house and the kids while you're there? That is invaluable to me. Because if I didn't have that, yeah, I wouldn't be able to go. I wouldn't be able to do that in March. like who's going to take the kids to school? Who's going to drop them off? Who's going to pick them up? Who's going to make sure like all the paperwork is signed? My kids were in elementary school, I think, when I did it. Like, so, you hear the must be nice or so selfish or, whatever. You hear all those things in the chatter of the community that you live in or whatever, but whatever.
Well, and obviously for those, especially someone who would say that that's selfish, is like that says way more about what they've got going on than anything about your experience. Because to not only have the opportunity to do that, but to be able to go and know, like you said, the paperwork's going to be signed, the kids are going to go where they need to, at the minimum, their health and safety, you have no question. Like they are going to be fine. They're with their father.
Yep.
So just recognizing the amazing support. And I talk to me about, because you had said you did your own work after Bryce's passing. You went to therapy, you went to couples therapy. Did you, how did it work between you and Tom? Like, did you have to advocate for him to get therapy? Did he know on his own? How did all of that play out? Was that a journey that you took together? Did you have to work to come back together?
Um, I initiated my own therapy right away because I knew that I was going to be a disaster, if you will. So he was like, okay, great, let me know when you're going, whatever. Like I did it, I think most of the time, like in the afternoon, and no, it was no big deal to anyone. I think my mom might have had the boys and I would just like follow my work schedule right to there, whatever. I don't even remember, but, um, the couples counseling, that was actually Tom telling me, big bear Tom, like, we need to go to couples counseling because I don't even know who you are anymore. Um, like when I say that I struggled, I made it through the first year after Bryce's passing, okay-ish, because everyone expects you to be a mess for, some aspects of life. But then like after that first year, like I just kept getting like worse. So that was when Tom was like, hey, maybe we should try couples counseling. Maybe I could go, this is Tom being like amazing. Maybe I can go to try to support you because I'm not sure what's happening. And I'm pretty like I at one point I told him like I wanted a divorce and I didn't even want custody of the kids. And he was like, yeah, I'm not sure what's happening, but I know this isn't true. So let's see what we can do. And, like I went in to this initial session with a couples counselor. And now that I know all these phenomenal women that I work with, I'm not sure she was that great, but whatever, it helped us for a little bit. Um, she was like, tell me a little bit about what brings you here. And I told her, and she was like, Heather, you just killed off everyone you know in like 10 minutes. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I'm scared that that's what's going to happen. So I figure if I just distance all this now, I don't have to worry about how difficult it's going to be. Um, so yeah, like that's what I was like struggling with. And when I like verbalized it, then I was like, oh wow, okay, this is crazy. Like this is wild. So then we worked on it and here I am.
But it just highlights again the strength of your bond and your union with your partner, that he
Yes.
saw there was a disconnect between you and he pulled you back in together. And that is an amazing testament to the foundation of your partnership and how you have evolved into this amazing woman that I am blessed to know. And
Well,
well, I'm not blowing smoke up your rear. I just, that's the reason why I wanted you as my first guest, is because the evolution of this process, like you full on caterpillar into the sludge to come out as a butterfly, because
100%.
there is, you obviously, all of the core elements of who you are still there, but everything in your life had to change. And
Yes.
who you are now is pretty amazing. And I'm grateful to know you. So
Thanks, Michelle.
But those were the big questions. And the only one that I had left was what shapes your identity now? I mean, you've given us a lot, but can you say, do you want to say
Um,
anything more to that?
yeah, I mean, what shapes my identity now, my goodness, it's a combination of like everything I just talked about. Life before and after your child passes away. I don't care what age they are, but there's definitely a life before that and a life after that. Um, and just the same thing goes for giving birth for the first time. Like life before that and life after that. Because, we joke this year, Thanksgiving Eve, you're prepping, you're cutting all this stuff. Thanksgiving Eve is the busiest party day of the year. And like we joked, like we used to come home at 3 a.m., and now I'm here like cutting carrots. Like, what is happening? So, like, what shapes my life now is being a mom of all different aspects of uh just turned teenager to about to drive to a deceased baby, all of these things. And then a wife, like they all have made me who I am today. How cliche.
No, it's not cliche at all. It is. Those are the seeds that have grown into who you are, and who you are is pretty amazing. And that's what I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to hold up and shine a light to because the whole point of my podcast is to shine a light on how amazing women are. And like we are the amazing flowers that grow through cracks in the sidewalk. And these
Mhm.
things because the resiliency is not heralded enough. And so that's what I wanted this podcast to do is to scream it from the rooftops that women are amazing.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, I'm down for continuing this, like as you can start to grow. I mean, because let's not negate the fact that I went from, I don't want to do anything with my life. I just want to be a mom and I want to have babies and stay home with them to, where I am now. It took a long time for me to get out of my head that I don't have to have warm cookies on the counter when the kids get off the bus. Like, and here I am now, like, I'm in a meeting. You cannot call my phone.
well,
Like,
in your
so it's
position,
wild.
can you, because I was going to say that you are the administrative director for Everlasting Wellness, but I feel like that's not correct.
It's the administrative and compliance director.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, kind of
Yeah.
a big deal because compliance
Yeah.
is a big deal in the healthcare industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna when the time comes to edit, I'm gonna put that at the beginning because that's a big deal. That's kind of a big title. So
Yeah.
leading
Okay.
with that. But let me stop.